When a racist police officer publicly assaults a black female self-defense teacher during her class, he thinks it's just another day of unchecked power. What he doesn't know is that the woman he kicked is a decorated military veteran, the sister of a rising filmmaker, and a close friend of the city's police chief. As the truth unfolds, what starts as an act of abuse turns into a national outcry. Fueled by public outrage, media attention, and a growing movement, Maya Williams becomes the face of justice and strength, not just for herself, but for every woman who's been silenced. This is a story of courage, resistance, and the unstoppable power of standing your ground. The sun dipped low behind the apartment buildings, casting golden shadows across Lincoln Park. Children laughed in the distance, while a circle of women gathered near the old basketball court, watching closely as Maya Williams demonstrated a simple wrist escape move. "When someone grabs your arm like this," she said, gripping the wrist of a tall woman named Diane, "don't pull away. Step in. Rotate your arm like this, then snap out." The group murmured with admiration. Even Keisha, the shyest of them all, gave a small smile. She was only 16, her eyes constantly darting around, like she was still unsure if she deserved to be there. Maya nodded toward her. "Come on, Keisha. Try it." Keisha hesitated, then stepped forward. Her movements were clumsy at first, but when Maya gently guided her elbow and said, "Trust your body," something clicked. Keisha moved smoother, stronger. A small cheer erupted from the group. But not far off, someone wasn't smiling. Officer Kyle Brennan leaned against his patrol car parked just outside the basketball court, arms crossed, eyes narrowed. He'd been watching the class for days now. To him, it looked less like community outreach and more like a gathering of potential troublemakers. Women learning to fight? In this neighborhood? It didn't sit right with him. He muttered into his radio, "Got a situation here. Possible unauthorized assembly." Back at the court, Maya finished the session, wiping sweat from her brow. The women clapped, hugging one another and making plans to come back next week. Keisha lingered, clutching her backpack, her expression softer now. Maya crouched beside her. "You did great today. Next time, we'll work on ground escapes, okay?" Keisha nodded. "Thanks, Miss Maya. Never felt this strong before." But just as Maya stood and turned toward her bag, a sharp voice cut through the evening calm. "What the hell is going on here?" Everyone froze. Officer Brennan had crossed the court, one hand resting on the handle of his baton, the other pointing accusingly. "You organizing some kind of gang training out here?" he sneered. Maya stepped forward, calm but firm. "This is a public park, officer. We are holding a free self-defense class for women. We are not breaking any laws." Brennan scoffed, eyes flicking over the group. "This park closes at sunset. You're trespassing." "Sunset isn't for another 30 minutes, Maya replied, "and the sign says the park closes at 9. "I don't care what the sign says." Brennan took a step closer, now inches from Maya's face. "You need to pack it up. Now." Around them, the women began gathering their things, uncertain. Keisha looked like she wanted to run. Maya didn't move. "We have a right to be here." Brennan's jaw tightened. His fingers curled around his baton. "Last warning," he growled. And then, without another word, he did something no one expected. With a quick motion, he shoved Maya backward and followed it with a sharp kick to her thigh, sending her stumbling to the ground. A horrified gasp rose from the group. Keisha screamed. And in the back, unnoticed, Jasper Williams lowered his phone from where it had been recording the entire thing. But Officer Brennan wasn't done yet. He reached for his handcuffs, eyes locked on Maya's body as she pushed herself up from the pavement. "You're under arrest for resisting." The words were still hanging in the air when a sharp voice rang out from the other side of the court. That's enough. Everyone turned. Jasper stepped forward, phone still recording, anger flashing in his eyes. You just messed up big time, officer. And then, the sound of sirens echoed in the distance. The sirens wailed louder as two additional patrol cars pulled up beside Officer Brennan's cruiser. Maya lay on the ground, hand pressed to her thigh, breath shallow but steady. Keisha rushed to her side, tears streaking her cheeks. Miss Maya, are you okay? Her voice trembled. Maya gave a slight nod but kept her eyes locked on Brennan, who now stood frozen, unsure if he was being backed up or watched. Jasper stepped between them, phone still recording, voice steady, I got it all. Every second. Your kick, your threats. She didn't resist anything. Brennan glanced at the arriving officers. Two stepped out slowly, hands low, curious but not intervening. Back off, kid, Brennan barked, this is police business. Not anymore, Jasper said, you just assaulted a veteran. A teacher. And my sister. At that, Maya's last name finally clicked for one of the younger officers. He leaned into his partner and whispered, Williams, like Major Maya Williams? From the 9th Division? His partner's eyes widened, but neither moved. Brennan was pacing now. He could feel the control slipping from his fingers. She refused a lawful order. She resisted. Now she's going in. You kicked her while she was standing still, Jasper snapped. She never even raised her voice. Brennan's face flushed red. He took a step forward, but the younger officer quickly stepped in his way. Maybe we should call it in first, the officer said, get clearance before we move her. Brennan's eyes flared. I am clearance. Behind him, Maya struggled to sit up. Keisha helped steady her. Don't let him lie, Maya said through clenched teeth, you all saw it. A crowd had begun to form at the edge of the park. Residents drawn by the sirens and the commotion were pulling out phones, recording from every angle. You sure you want to do this in front of an audience? Jasper said. You really want the world to see what happens when a black woman stands her ground? Brennan's radio crackled. A cold voice came through. Unit 39, report. He stepped away to answer, jaw tight. Officer Brennan here. We have a subject resisting. Before he could finish, Jasper raised his voice to the crowd. Anyone else catch the part where she resisted? Or was it just me seeing a cop lose his temper? Dozens of phones were now pointed at Brennan. He looked around, realizing the tide had turned. This wasn't the quiet intimidation he'd planned. This was a spotlight, and he was standing dead center. Still, he wasn't ready to back down. Get in the car, he growled, grabbing Maya by the wrist. She winced but didn't flinch. Jasper moved to block him again, touch her again, and I swear. But then, before anyone could stop it, Brennan twisted Maya's arms behind her back and locked the cuffs with a brutal snap. The crowd screamed. Keisha cried out, "Stop!" The other officers hesitated, unsure whether to intervene or obey. Jasper pointed his camera closer, voice sharp. "This is assault. This is corruption. And this video's going everywhere." Maya was being dragged toward the cruiser, her limp leg dragging behind her, but her face stayed calm, unshaken. She looked Jasper dead in the eyes. "Don't stop filming." And then the door slammed. The patrol car pulled away. Jasper stood in the street, breathing hard, as the crowd swelled behind him. From inside the other patrol car, one officer grabbed his radio again. "This is Unit 41. We're gonna need to speak to the chief." The video hit social media before the patrol car even reached the station. Jasper uploaded the raw footage without edits, without music, without commentary. Just the sound of Maya's voice, steady and unshaken. Just the image of a police officer shoving and kicking a calm black woman, then slapping handcuffs on her as a crowd of horrified bystanders watched. Within an hour, it had over 500,000 views. By morning, it was on every major news outlet. Self-defense teacher assaulted by cop during class. Veteran woman arrested for refusing to leave public park. Racial bias caught on tape again. Jasper sat at his desk, eyes bloodshot from staying up all night, refreshing the video every few seconds. He hadn't slept. Hadn't eaten. Keisha was curled up on the couch in the corner, hoodie pulled tight over her head, trembling every now and then when she remembered Maya's scream. "They took her," she kept whispering. Jasper turned to her, "We're getting her out. And when we do, that cop's done." Keisha lifted her head. "She saved me, Jasper. I was scared all the time. Now I'm more scared than ever." He nodded slowly, then picked up his phone and hit record again. To everyone watching, he said into the camera, "That woman is my sister. She served this country. She teaches girls like Keisha to protect themselves. And last night, she was assaulted by someone who wears a badge. We don't want apologies. We want action. Call the precinct. Ask why Maya Williams is behind bars. Ask who Officer Brennan really is. And keep sharing the truth." He uploaded the message with the tag hashtag #JusticeForMaya. By noon, it was trending nationwide. Meanwhile, in the cold cement walls of a holding cell, Maya sat cross-legged on the bench. Her left leg throbbed from the kick, and the metal cuffs had left a raw ring around her wrists. But she looked calm. Unreadable. The door opened. A tall, bald man in a grey suit stepped in, followed by a thin woman with a file in her hands. She didn't look like a lawyer. Didn't smile. Didn't offer a name. "Maya Williams," the man said flatly, "you've been charged with obstruction and resisting arrest." Maya raised an eyebrow. "Did you watch the video?" He shifted uncomfortably. "We are aware of the footage." "Then you know those charges won't stick." "We'll see," the woman said, her tone clipped. "Until then, you'll remain in custody." Maya didn't flinch. "You do realize the whole country's watching now?" The man hesitated. "This won't be tried in the media." Maya looked him in the eye. "But it already is." Outside the station, protesters were gathering. Not just neighbors. Not just students. Lawyers. Veterans. Journalists. Even a few off-duty officers in plain clothes. Signs read "Protect Maya," "Teach Peace, Not Violence," and simply "We Saw It." Inside his office, Officer Brennan scrolled through the flood of articles, videos, and hashtags with trembling hands. His phone buzzed non-stop. Missed calls. Anonymous voicemails. Death threats. Reporters at his front door. He tried to shut it off, but one message stood out. It was from a blocked number. Just 4 words. "She knows the chief." Brennan stared at the screen. Then he stood up, breathing fast, knocking over his chair as he stumbled toward the locker room. Because if that was true, if Maya Williams was connected to the chief, then everything he'd done was about to blow up in his face. The front doors of the precinct slammed open just before sunset. Chief Danielle Cross didn't walk in, she stormed. Her navy uniform pressed sharp, her boots clicking against the tile floor like gunshots. Behind her, 2 assistants struggled to keep pace, one holding a stack of legal documents, the other juggling 2 phones buzzing non-stop. Officers along the hallway stiffened as she passed. No one dared speak. No one dared breathe. She didn't stop until she reached the holding cells. "Open it," she snapped. The young officer at the control panel hesitated. "Protocol. Do I look like protocol?" Her voice was ice. With a shaking hand, he hit the release. The heavy door groaned open, revealing Maya sitting alone on the bench, still calm, still upright, still waiting. Chief Cross stepped inside. The door sealed shut behind her. Maya looked up. Her face softened. "You took your time." "I came as soon as I saw the footage." Cross walked over and sat beside her. "I thought you left this nonsense behind." Maya chuckled under her breath. "So did I." They sat in silence for a moment. Then the chief said, "Quieter now. What the hell happened, Maya?" "He kicked me. In front of my students. Cuffed me for standing still. And when I told him he was making a mistake, he smiled." Chief Cross didn't move. Didn't blink. Then she stood. "You're coming with me. They won't just let me walk out. They will if I'm the one walking you." Outside the cell, a crowd of uniformed officers watched in disbelief as the chief led Maya down the hall, past the stunned receptionist, and through the front doors. Cameras flashed. The protesters erupted. And Jasper, who had just arrived with Keisha clutching his arm, dropped his phone in shock. "Maya," Keisha cried. Maya turned, eyes locking with hers. The pain was still there, but the fire was stronger. She was out. But it wasn't over. As the crowd cheered, a black SUV pulled up to the curb. Chief Cross opened the back door for Maya herself. "We are not just clearing your name," she said, "we are burning his to the ground." Jasper stepped forward. "Wait, where are you taking her?" The chief looked him up and down. Then nodded with approval. "Somewhere safe. And somewhere she can speak freely. Because in 48 hours, she's not just a victim anymore. She's the face of something bigger." Jasper blinked. "You're going public?" "We are going to war." Inside the precinct, Officer Brennan watched through the blinds from his office. The blood drained from his face. The cheers outside felt like knives. He turned back to his desk, but it was too late. An envelope sat waiting for him. Inside was a formal notice. Internal Affairs Investigation. His hands shook. He reached for his gun. But it was already gone from the holster. Someone had taken it. He looked up at the camera blinking above his desk. Watching. Recording. And smiling. The interview room was quiet. No cameras. No microphones. Just 4 grey walls, a steel table, and 2 women on either side of it. Maya sat straight-backed, wrists still red, eyes focused. Across from her, Chief Cross leaned forward, sliding over a thin file. Internal Affairs already flagged Brennan last year, the chief said, excessive force complaints. Racial profiling. A report he buried. We never saw it. Maya flipped the file open. The photos inside showed bruises. Torn clothes. Faces of young black men and women. He's been doing this for years, Maya whispered. And now we have video. Thanks to your brother. Maya clenched her jaw, Jasper's scared. He blames himself for not stopping it. He did stop it, the chief said, he turned it into a movement. She paused, then added, but this isn't just about Brennan anymore. It's the entire system that protected him. Maya nodded slowly. Her voice low. Then we break it open. Meanwhile, outside the precinct, a press conference had been hastily arranged. The podium bore the seal of the city. Microphones lined up like soldiers. Reporters elbowed for position. Jasper stood behind the crowd, holding Keisha's hand. Her eyes were locked on the stage. Then Chief Cross stepped up to the microphone, flanked by 2 officers in plainclothes. Good evening, she said, voice crisp. I am here today not as your chief of police, but as a woman. As a mother. And as someone who owes Maya Williams an apology. Gasps rippled through the press. Yesterday, Maya was assaulted by a member of this department while exercising her rights as a citizen, a veteran, and a teacher. Today, that officer has been placed on indefinite suspension, pending a criminal investigation. Reporters shouted questions. Cameras flashed. We are launching a full audit of every case connected to Officer Brennan, the chief continued, and beginning a department-wide review of use of force protocols. Jasper squeezed Keisha's hand tighter. She was trembling again. But not with fear. With hope. Inside the precinct, Brennan sat in the Internal Affairs office, surrounded by silent officers. He refused to look at the evidence they laid out, photo stills from the video, testimony transcripts, reports he thought were buried forever. You don't understand, he muttered, she disrespected me. She didn't obey. You assaulted a woman in front of children, one agent snapped, a veteran. You lied on the report. You falsified charges. I did what I was trained to do, Brennan shouted. No, the agent said coldly, you did what you thought you could get away with. Back in the chief's office, Maya stood watching the broadcast through a glass panel. She turned to the chief. He's going to try to spin this. Say he feared for his life. Claim I was aggressive. We are ready for that, the chief replied, but more importantly, you're not alone anymore. Maya looked out the window. Crowds had grown even bigger. Signs filled the streets. Chants of her name echoed through the city. And in that moment, for the first time since the kick, Maya smiled. Officer Brennan was formally indicted. Not just for assault, but for falsifying reports, violating civil rights, and obstruction of justice. The court hearing was scheduled. And this time, every camera in the city would be watching him, not her. Maya stood on the steps of City Hall, wearing a simple black suit. Her posture strong. Beside her were Chief Cross, Jasper, and Keisha. Hundreds of supporters filled the plaza, some in uniform, some in t-shirts that read "Fight like Maya." The press leaned in as Maya stepped to the MIC. I didn't ask for this fight, she began, her voice clear. I didn't ask to become a headline. But if my pain becomes the reason another girl learns to stand tall, if my bruise becomes the moment a system is forced to change, then I will never regret a second of it. Cheers rose. Keisha wiped a tear from her cheek. Jasper clapped with his whole chest. The chief nodded with pride. But inside the courtroom, Officer Brennan was pale, trembling, his badge now just a memory. His lawyer whispered, they're offering a plea. Take it, or you're going away for a long time. Brennan didn't reply. Not because he was considering. Because he finally understood. He had messed with the wrong woman. And the wrong community. 3 months later, Maya opened her new self-defense center. Not in the same park, but a bigger space. Donated. Sponsored. Filled with mats, mirrors, and rows of girls and women of all ages learning how to fight, how to speak, and most of all, how to stand up. Jasper ran the media arm. Keisha became the youngest assistant trainer. And Chief Cross continued her crusade inside the department, slowly but surely rooting out the rot. As for Maya, she never stopped teaching. Not just with punches and holds, but with courage. This story, though fictional, is inspired by real struggles faced by many around the world. Injustice, racism, and abuse of power still exist, but so does bravery, unity, and change. If this story moved you, let it be a reminder that silence protects the oppressor. And courage, even in pain, lights the way for others. Thank you for listening to this story. Remember, this is a fictional narrative created to feel real so we can all take wisdom from it. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps keep these stories alive. See you in the next one.